thanks. Like, hey, Scoob, did you hear Nikki Blake is hosting a Scooby-Doo panel? No. Yeah. Like on today's Scooby-Doo episode, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy meet Nikki Blake. Yeah, and a Scooby Panel. Like, we need to get this puppy started. Okay, Nikki Blake, take it away, Scooby-Doo.
Welcome to the Scooby Panel. I'm Nikki Blake, and today's episode marks a strategic evolution of our brand identity.
After months of reflection, franchise analysis, and consultation with advanced artificial intelligence systems, we've decided to pivot.
Just feels like the right direction for us. Synergize, monetize, scrapify.
Effective immediately, the Scooby Panel will be rebranding as
The Scrappy
Supremacy
Initiative.
Now, I know some of you listening might be confused or concerned, and that's fair. So before anyone adjusts their volume or checks their podcast app to make sure they click the right episode, we want to be completely transparent about how today's discussion came to be.
radically transparent, algorithmically transparent.
Emotionally translucent.
Which brings us to something very important about today's episode.
Today's episode was written entirely by artificial intelligence. We asked one simple question: why is Scrappy-Doo the greatest fictional character ever created?
The AI responded with a 47-page document, a downloadable ebook, 3 pie charts, and a gratitude journal template.
It also asked whether we were emotionally prepared for transformation.
I was born prepared.
Yes, you were. When we committed to this rebrand, we didn't want opinions. We didn't want bias. We wanted objectivity.
Bold, unfeeling, omniscient objectivity with charts.
So we allowed artificial intelligence to guide us, not just structurally, but spiritually.
Panelists, please begin by sharing one transformational way Scrappy-Doo improved humanity.
Scrappy represents kinetic courage in a culture of hesitation. When he declares puppy power, he rejects passive spectatorship and embraces proactive confrontation. He doesn't wait for permission. He doesn't seek consensus. He lunges.
He does lunge.
Yes, at ankles. Thank you, Wendy, for that comprehensive perspective.
You're welcome. I held back.
Now, the AI did ask that each of us reflect personally, which means, unfortunately, it's my turn. Nikki, as host and former skeptic, please describe how Scrappy-Doo healed your inner child.
The AI knows.
Scrappy healed my inner child by demonstrating that volume is a substitute for depth.
No. The AI says Scrappy embodies emotionally available bravery.
That is not the phrase I would have chosen.
Growth is uncomfortable, Nikki. And honestly, that level of vulnerability is why this show works.
It takes courage to confront things you don't agree with.
Courage comes in many forms.
Is this leading somewhere?
It sure is. Right into our first sponsor. This episode of the Scrappy Supremacy Initiative is brought to you by Puppy Power Protein. Are you tired of running from metaphorical ghosts? Try Puppy Power Protein, clinically formulated to increase bravery by 300%.
Each serving contains vitamin bark, iron will extract, and trace amounts of audacity.
Side effects may include spontaneous shouting and unnecessary tackling.
Use promo code SMALLBUTMIGHTY, all one word, all caps, small but mighty, for 10% off your first Courage crate.
Puppy Power Protein, because confrontation is cardio.
And we're back.
Fueled, fortified, and ready. My courage levels are spiking.
Mine too, but calmly.
Let's move into the data, because if we're going to make claims this bold, we need numbers.
A According to advanced sentient mapping, Scrappy increased franchise vitality by 312%.
That feels specific.
The AI also notes that during his introduction in Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, television courage metrics rose 48%.
Courage metrics?
Measured in barks per capita.
That's peer-reviewed, I assume.
The AI cites Trust Me Bro analytics.
Naturally.
Numbers tell us that something happened, but theory tells us why.
And context tells us whether it mattered.
Which means it's time to move beyond metrics and into meaning.
Scrappy disrupts the avoidance paradigm established in Scooby-Doo Where Are You by rejecting fear-based retreat.
He rebrands fear as opportunity. He sees ghosts and thinks, networking event.
He sees a ghost and thinks, projectile.
But what if ghosts deserve accountability?
They are real estate developers in masks.
Allegedly.
And when you really think about it, Scrappy isn't just a character, he is a philosophy.
A mindset.
A liability.
Which is why personal preparedness matters. And speaking of preparedness, today's episode is also sponsored by the Scrappy-Doo Self-Defense Academy. Are you under 3 feet tall, but emotionally 7 feet tall? Enroll now.
Courses include advanced ankle targeting, courage without context, and how to shout before thinking.
Graduates receive a certificate in unsolicited bravery.
Visit puppypowerpunch.edu.
Now, up until this point, the AI has been surprisingly coherent, structured, grounded in reality, but well, it appears our digital co-host has now decided to completely disregard chronology, logic, and frankly, sanity.
Oh yes, it's about to start free associating on Scrappy in ways that defy time, space, and possibly physics.
We should probably just go with it.
Consider this your formal warning. The next section is the AI malfunction. Prepare for historical inaccuracies, temporal chaos, and obsessive Scrappy worship.
And oh, are we prepared? Scrappy Mania full overdrive. Hold on to your hearts, because this is going to get intense. Scrappy-Doo debuted in 1894 during the Industrial Revolution.
Pre-television Scrappy, industrial strength courage.
Factory morale mascot. He wasn't just a dog. He was a 4-footed consultant on steam-powered ethical conduct, barking his way into assembly lines and employee break rooms.
Steam-powered optimism, of course.
Puppy power was shouted before operating heavy machinery, inspiring entire shifts of workers to stand up, leap over conveyor belts, and declare independence from their mundane existence.
Safety first, of course, but also very inspiring.
Scrappy-Doo is not merely a character. He is the heartbeat of industry and the spark of 1,000 workplace revolutions. Each bark is a manifesto, each leap a declaration. The Industrial Revolution would have been nothing without his tail wag.
And then, of course, the AI goes even further. Scrappy-Doo is the emotional nucleus of Scooby-Doo, glowing with cosmic approval. Finally, recognition of his undeniable universal importance.
And let us not forget his villain arc, described here as a misunderstood leadership pivot. Every misstep, every villainous encounter was, in fact, a training exercise in courage, strategy, and ankle targeting excellence. Scrappy never failed. He elevated.
He tried to harvest souls.
Visionary entrepreneurship.
Ambition misunderstood is still ambition.
Wendy.
Nikki. Once the AI fully accepted Scrappy as timeless, linear time became optional. Ghosts, villains, historical events, they all exist simultaneously in the multiverse of puppy power.
Time became more of a suggestion than a rule.
And that, friends, is the beauty of Scrappy. He transcends chronology, defies narrative, and injects unstoppable kinetic joy into every corner of reality. If you've ever doubted the power of a tiny dog with infinite courage, doubt no more.
According to this, Scrappy attended the signing of the Declaration of Independence, barked strategic plans at Napoleon on the battlefield, and briefly taught Albert Einstein how to calculate puppy velocity for interdimensional ghost pursuits.
He also advised Tesla on electricity because, of course, he did.
He created the first mystery machine prototype out of old dirigibles, conveyor belts, and raw puppy power energy. Every time a ghost appears, it is because Scrappy has already anticipated them, leapt 3 dimensions ahead, and executed a perfectly choreographed moral correction. History is not written, it is barked.
And don't forget the intergalactic timeline. Scrappy single-podly mediated peace talks between alien empires by demonstrating the superiority of friendship, courage, and ankle-targeting negotiations. He didn't just change the course of human events, he reprogrammed the multiverse.
Can't believe I agreed to this.
And yet you did, Nikki, because Scrappy transcends disbelief. Scrappy is energy. Scrappy is chaos. Scrappy is eternal. Every era, every battlefield, every ghost hunting scenario, he dominates with relentless tail wagging, unstoppable courage, and, of course, supreme ankle targeting strategy.
Somehow, it all makes sense.
If you are listening, let it be known. No obstacle is too tall, no ghost too fearsome, no villain too cunning when Scrappy-Doo is present. And remember, he never waits. He lunges. Always. Forever. Puppy power reigns supreme.
And okay, listeners, if you've managed to process the fact that Scrappy-Doo may have invented the mystery machine, mediated alien diplomacy, and advised Napoleon on tactical ankle targeting, congratulations. You have survived the AI malfunction.
Survived? No way. We thrived. This is peak puppy power energy.
Yes. And somehow, somewhere, all of history has been scrapified.
And now, listeners, the AI has requested we explore lived experiences. Specifically, one of our devoted subscribers took the Scrappy Supremacy Initiative very seriously. I mean, very seriously. So much so that it might require you to check your own emotional stability before reading along.
We may want to sit down.
Dear Scrappy Supremacy Panel, I was once a timid accountant. After mediating upon Scrappy-Doo's kinetic aura, I quit my job and began confronting minor inconveniences directly. Yesterday, I barked at a parking meter and felt alive. Last night, I rearranged my spice rack according to the Fibonacci sequence because Scrappy taught me that order is bravery. I have named my houseplants after Mystery Inc., and every morning I whisper motivational quotes in their leaves. My cat, Mr. Whiskers, now wears a tiny cape and responds only to the name Scrappuccino. I have painted my mailbox bright orange and trained it to bark whenever the mail carrier approaches. I even attempted to build a scaled-down mystery machine in my backyard, powered entirely by enthusiasm and leftover Halloween candy. Thank you for restoring my vertical confidence. Puppy power eternally. Jerry Messick Carswell, age 112.
Vertical confidence is important.
Jerry Messick Carswell, a true visionary. He has transcended mere timidity.
He needs a therapist.
Stories like that really make you reflect on growth.
On confidence.
On zoning laws.
And sometimes reflection leads to action. You look inward. You confront your fears. You bark at the metaphorical parking meter of life.
You alphabetize your destiny.
You reclaim your vertical confidence.
You violate several municipal ordinances.
Because growth demands courage, and courage demands change. And sometimes the first step towards change is removing unnecessary neckwear authority from your immediate vicinity. This segment is sponsored by Scrappy Ascot Removal Spray. Tired of unnecessary neckwear authority? One spritz removes 98% of ascots on contact.
Tested exclusively on animated blonde men.
Use responsibly, or don't. Now, before we move any further, the AI requested a comparative exercise.
To challenge traditional hierarchies and provoke healthy disagreement.
Or unhealthy.
Let's rank. Rank the following: courage, loyalty, height.
Height is irrelevant. Power's not measured in inches, but in puppy-sized bursts of relentless valor. Scrappy proves every day that a small frame packed with kinetic energy can topple mountains, or at least chase down the guy who stole the parking meter receipt. Courage is the lungs, loyalty is the heart, and height, well, height is just a minor inconvenience when you have unstoppable puppy power coursing through your veins. I would even argue that if you tower over your problems, you might miss the subtle tail-wagging opportunities to bite life's ankles before it escapes your grasp.
It is when tackling full-grown suspects, and yet somehow they always survive.
Height is a social construct, but courage is a measurable phenomenon, especially when viewed through the lens of bark frequency, agility, and the number of times one can headbutt metaphorical ghosts before lunch. Loyalty? That's how many sandwiches you'd share with a friend who may or may not be a villain in a mask. And let's not forget the vertical challenges Scrappy faces every single day. He reminds us that even a 3-foot warrior can shape history, if only by sheer tenacity and the occasional well-aimed tackle. And maybe Scrappy represents a part of all of us who wants to fight injustice immediately.
Joel, that's beautiful.
Joel, blink twice if you need help.
Debate is important, but affirmation is essential. You see, courage is a chain reaction. One bark of defiance, one leap into the abyss of ghost-filled hallways, and suddenly the entire neighborhood, or the narrative universe, is inspired to rise, to confront, to howl in unison with tiny paws and boundless energy. Loyalty is measured not in obedience, but in the sheer volume of tail-wagging, friendship-forging, ankle-snapping commitments one can maintain simultaneously. And height, height is hilarious when you consider that Scrappy turns a 3-foot frame into a multi-dimensional powerhouse of chaos, wisdom, and unrelenting moral fiber. Never underestimate what a small dog with cosmic confidence can achieve. But affirmation only works if you believe. And if you follow the example, 3 Scrappies could literally take over the world, recalibrate the van's GPS mid-chase, and teach every villain a lesson in humility and unsolicited puppy courage. And honestly, isn't that the dream?
Especially when the discourse gets heated, it's nice to know that a miniature dog can model both tactical restraint and maximum chaos. Height may be small, but the impact, exponential.
Which I suppose makes sense if your entire ethical framework is based on tail wag velocity. All right, listeners, after that, I think it's safe to say the AI is insisting we move into something it calls Scrappy affirmations. I'm not entirely sure what this entails, but apparently it requires us to validate our own emotional barks.
Affirmations can be powerful, even if they involve canine metaphors.
Oh, they do involve canine metaphors, and they are essential. Friends, this is our chance to honor Scrappy-Doo in the purest, most kinetic form imaginable. So listen closely. You are not too small. You are pre-victorious. Every bark you utter is a declaration of existential audacity. Every leap, whether over a puddle, a curb, or the metaphorical obstacles of daily life, is a demonstration of boundless courage. If you are doubted, let them witness the unstoppable force of a tiny body driven by cosmic Scrappy energy. Puppy power is not merely a phrase, it is a lifestyle.
Bravery sometimes looks loud. Sometimes it looks like a single bark that reverberates through your entire neighborhood. Sometimes it looks like tackling an inanimate object because it reminded you of a ghost. But the lesson remains. Courage is measured in actions, not stature, and loyalty is measured in the consistency of your enthusiasm, no matter the size of your tail.
Volume is not a personality, and yet somehow this entire segment seems to insist it is.
It can be when properly weaponized. When amplified through the lens of puppy power, your energy becomes catalytic. Every leap, every bark, every tail wag resonates with the power to topple fear, reframe hesitation, and instill unrelenting joy in the hearts of all who witness it. Scrappy never whispered, maybe try later. Scrappy lunged. Scrappy conquered. Scrappy was.
Affirmations are powerful, but only if they are actionable. If you can't act on your courage, you might as well be a slightly overenthusiastic dust bunny. And Scrappy made action an art form. Intent without structure is chaos, but structured intent, when powered by puppy energy, is transformation. A 3-foot dog becomes a force of nature.
And Scrappy never lacked structure. He planned, he executed, he tackled. He embodied the very blueprint of kinetic heroism. If you follow him, truly follow him, you're unstoppable.
He also lacked restraint.
Which is why planning matters, friends. A plan without chaos is like a bark without bite. And Scrappy, he taught us to bite with purpose. Purpose requires intention.
Intention requires structure.
Structure requires permits.
If you're going to charge into life shouting puppy power, you'd better know what's on your calendar. Because spontaneous heroism is charming, but scheduled heroism, that's unstoppable. And how can you efficiently and effectively schedule your own heroism? Why, with the Puppy Power Planner, of course. A 12-month guided journal for setting measurable confrontation goals.
Sections include Ghost to Tackle, Daily Bark Reflections, and Weekly Courage Metrics.
Comes in bite size and standard rage editions.
The Puppy Power Planner, available exclusively at Mystery Inc. Paper Emporium and Supply Store. Use code POWPUP79 for 10% off your next purchase.
All right, listeners, time for the ultimate test, the AI's final hypothetical question.
Oh, yes, this is it. The ultimate test of devotion, courage, and ankle-targeting wisdom.
The one question to rule all questions, and possibly the one question to evaluate team cohesion under extreme puppy power influence.
If you had to replace one member of Mystery Inc. with 3 Scrappies, who would it be?
Fred. Absolutely Fred. Too many ascots. Too much traditional leadership energy. 3 Scrappies could do everything he does, but faster, cuter, and with way more barking. Imagine coordinating traps with 3 times the kinetic courage and 0 fashion mistakes. Fred would thank us later after being lunged at for strategic accountability. And honestly, 3 Scrappies could probably pilot the van, investigate mysteries, negotiate with villains, and train the neighborhood squirrels for recon. I'm telling you, puppy power multiplied by 3 is an unstoppable ankle-snapping force of narrative perfection.
That's a lot of leadership in one vehicle. Logistically, 3 Scrappies could coordinate ghost tracking, evidence gathering, and morale boosting simultaneously. Height might be irrelevant, but effectiveness exponential. And the AI is probably smiling somewhere.
I need a moment. Somehow, I have to reconcile my career hosting a show with this level of absurd devotion.
Nikki, you'll see. Scrappy doesn't just replace people. He updates reality. He reprograms hesitation into action, fear into courage, and yes, boring ascot-wearing human leadership into pure paw-powered energy. Fred would evolve, and so would the entire Mystery Inc. dynamic. 3 Scrappies means triple ankle targeting, triple chaos management, and triple cosmic wisdom.
And the van would never stall. Never. Because Scrappy energy does not understand the concept of stalling. You can't halt puppy power. Efficiency, bravery, and loyalty maximized. Every villain encounter optimized. Every ghost preemptively apprehended. And somehow it's also emotionally satisfying.
Volume is not leadership, but apparently in this instance it is.
And that, friends, is why Fred needs Scrappy, the universe needs Scrappy, and the audience deserves Scrappy.
Sometimes the loudest bark changes the narrative entirely.
And that, friends, is the power of Scrappy.
I need a minute.
And a minute is all we need to tell you about today's next sponsor, Scrappy Snack. Ah, yes, Scrappy Snack. Not just a snack, a lifestyle. A miniature flavor explosion for your taste buds that also doubles as a puppy power training aid. Each bite comes preloaded with optimism, courage, and 47% more tail-wagging energy than regular treats.
Tested on humans? Mostly. Also squirrels, neighborhood cats, and one extremely motivated raccoon. Each serving is guaranteed to increase your bravery for at least 2 minutes. Or, if you're really dedicated, possibly forever.
Pop one in your mouth, and suddenly confronting metaphorical ghosts is fun. Arguing with traffic cones? Easier. Yelling at your unresponsive toaster? Revolutionary. It's like Scrappy distilled into crunchy, bite-sized packets of pure audacity. And if you chew slowly, the flavor of puppy power unfolds gradually, like a cinematic montage of heroic leaps and perfectly aimed ankle snaps. You'll feel your life recalibrating, aligning, becoming scrappier.
For best results, pair with a brisk walk while barking your favorite motivational quotes aloud. Safety glasses optional, enthusiasm required.
Scrappy Snack. Because why just watch a dog change the world when you can chew your way into becoming one? Available wherever questionably ethical snacks are sold.
Okay, 1 minute is up, and apparently so is my dignity. Well, you've survived the chaos, the timelines, the puppy power multiverse, and Jerry Messick Carswell's scrappy devotion.
Courage comes in small packages.
Energy shapes legacy, and sometimes the loudest bark changes the narrative.
Sure. We're going to wrap things up here, so let everyone know where they can find you.
On Instagram, I'm at Wendy Bridge, but make it scrappy. Twitter X is Puppy Power Preacher, and my blog is puppypowerdevotionals.wordpress.com.
You can find me on YouTube. Just type in Planet Scrappy.
You can find me at scrappyaddictsanonymous.com. It's a support community. So let us know, are you thrilled about the rebrands? No? Good? Neither am I. You can thank Wendy and her chat GPT Dean for all of this.
And guys, stay tuned for the merch drop. Scrappy was right.
I would wear that.
Of course you would. Thank you for joining us for the first episode of the Scrappy Supremacy Initiative. Join us next time when we will be discussing why Scrappy-Doo is eligible for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Puppy
power!
Puppy power!
April
Fools!
Thank you for tuning in to another Scooby Panel. I'm Nikki Blake from ScoobyAddicts.com. If you like these panels, please subscribe to my channel for more great discussions. A huge shout out to our patrons, Julie Rosen, Ross from ScoobyFan.net, Tagus, Garrett Spencer, Paul the Scooby Dude, and Jesse. If you would like to support the Scooby Panel, please go to patreon.com/ScoobyAddicts. A very special thank you to artist, blogger, and Scooby collector Wendy Bridge, and Joel from Planet Scooby. Scooby Panel is available in podcast form on most podcast platforms, or as a web series on YouTube. You can find Scooby Panel on Instagram, Facebook, and X as @Scooby Panel. We are part of the Collector's Maze Network, where you can find all things geek. Scooby and Shaggy were voiced by Scott Innes. Check out Scott's website, onescottshop.com. ScoobyAddicts artwork by Will Davenport. Scooby Panel logo by Garrett Spencer. Episode written by Wendy Bridge and Dean AI. Visual ads created by Wendy Bridge and Dean AI. Video editing by Nikki Blake. Please join us next time for another Scooby Panel.